The young boy dreams of wielding power beyond his humble village life. Imagination fuels the fierce battle between the young boy and his playmate. A simple wooden stick becomes a mighty staff in his small hands. Playful combat takes a sharp turn when the strike lands too hard. Tensions rise as the young girl bristles at his sudden, painful aggression. Grandpa Rabus observes the petty squabble with a weary, knowing gaze. Grandpa smiles warmly while greeting the energetic children in the village square. Innocent eyes search the elder for the secrets of true magical mastery. Legends depict a hooded figure wielding power far beyond mortal reach. Grandpa Rabus shares a quiet moment with a young man nearby. Curiosity sparks within the elder as rumors begin to reach him. Whispers of a terrifying monster spread quickly through the unsettled village. Grandpa confirms the grim reality of the reports with a heavy, weary heart. Legends describe a monstrous, shadow-cloaked predator hunting the edges of the mortal world. A woman offers comfort to a small child, masking her fear with hopeful words. The man with dark hair struggles to process the terrifying news of the beast. An elder's hand rests protectively on the young boy, urging him towards safer ground. Grandpa leans on his wooden staff, emphasizing the dire need for extreme caution today. Anxious eyes turn toward the man, wondering who might truly stand against such power. Grandpa questions the identity of the mysterious savior mentioned in the hushed rumors. Peaceful hills hide the secrets of a powerful, hidden protector dwelling nearby. Nature rests quietly, unaware of the legendary figure known as the shepherd Turan. Turan sleeps peacefully in the field, oblivious to the panic gripping the local villagers. The shepherd opens his eyes, sensing the subtle shift in the winds of fate. Turan finds the endless monotony of his pastoral life deeply grating. Endless rolling hills stretch across the quiet, unchanging landscape. Isolated days bleed together in this stagnant, lonely corner. Turan fears that his isolation will eventually cost him his voice. His eyes snap open, sharp and cold, as he spots an intruder. Grandpa Rabus looms over the reclining shepherd, clearly unimpressed by his idleness. The elderly man stares down with a look of stern, weary disapproval. Turan offers a mocking grin, goading the elder about their past history. Grandpa grimaces, clearly remembering when the shepherd tried to seize village assets. Turan slumps against the grass, entirely dismissive of his visitor's presence. Grandpa erupts in fury, his patience finally snapping at the boy's arrogance. Turan stares back, his cold expression unmoved by the elder's sudden burst of rage. Grandpa Rabus stands firm, his staff grounding him against the young shepherd's sudden alarm. Legends speak of beasts so immense they dwarf the very homes of simple folk. Turan offers a thin, detached smile while stroking his sheep, completely unmoved by terror. Grandpa watches the boy, sensing a strange, unsettling calm radiating from the young shepherd. The elder lowers his head, his brow furrowing as he struggles to read the boy. Turan spins around, his patience dissolving into a sharp, piercing glare at the old man. Cold contempt curls his lips as he prepares to dismiss his unwanted, lingering guest. Harsh words spill from him, the shepherd showing absolutely no respect for his elder. Turan turns back to his flock, leaving the disgruntled grandpa to walk away alone. Ancient tales describe monsters as entities born from the rawest, most chaotic magical currents. Silent eyes watch the world, observing the fragile balance between human wizard and beast. Slow, deliberate footsteps mark the arrival of someone who does not belong here yet. Turan remains skeptical of the village chief's ability to hire a capable wizard. Despite his jaded outlook, he harbors a deep curiosity about a wizard's potential. A sudden, sharp scent catches his attention, pulling him from his wandering thoughts. His eyes widen as he instantly recognizes the metallic, unmistakable odor of fresh blood. He scans the horizon, his instincts flaring as the wind carries a grim warning. The realization settles over him like a cold shadow, confirming his worst suspicions. Fading light stretches long shadows across the quiet, overgrown path ahead. A lone sandal presses firmly into the earth, tracking a trail into the woods. Turan navigates the dense forest, searching for the source of the unsettling iron scent. His expression hardens as he focuses intently on the path he is now following. Another step forward brings him closer to whatever lies hidden in the brush. He pauses, his gaze sharpening as he senses something waiting just out of sight. Turan stands frozen before the broken, blood-soaked body of Grandpa Rabus. Frustration flickers across his face as he contemplates the elder's reckless sacrifice. He studies the gruesome carnage, his sharp mind analyzing the lethal force displayed. Evidence of the monster remains etched into the cold, silent forest floor. Sudden tension grips him as an overwhelming presence looms nearby in shadows. A massive, clawed foot descends, shaking the very earth beneath the trees. The hulking monster emerges, its glowing eyes burning with a primal, predatory hunger. Turan squares his shoulders, preparing to confront the beast in the darkening woods. Young boy seeks comfort, fearing the unstoppable power of the creature outside. Man with dark hair speaks plainly, knowing the grim reality of their survival. A simple meal offers a fragile sense of normalcy amidst the encroaching dread. Promises of a powerful wizard provide the only hope for the terrified villagers. The young boy searches for a shred of certainty in the man's eyes. Reassurance comes easily to the man with dark hair, hiding his own deep uncertainty. A monstrous, clawed creature looms in the shadows with predatory, glowing yellow eyes. Turan watches the unfolding threat with a cold, detached sense of irritation. His lips curl into a sharp, decisive command aimed at the encroaching beast. Turan unleashes a surge of raw magic that strikes the monster with lethal force. Snarling in defiance, the monster struggles against the sudden, overwhelming magical onslaught. A crimson aura flares around Turan as he channels his hidden, formidable power. Confusion flickers across his face when the expected result fails to manifest immediately. The monster lunges forward, its massive frame closing the distance with terrifying speed. Turan shouts a final, desperate warning to halt the creature's relentless, lethal charge. Dust kicks up as the monster closes in, forcing Turan to shift his stance. Turan stares ahead, his expression hardening as he acknowledges the creature's true nature. Despair creeps into his voice, questioning the very possibility of halting this nightmare. Violent magical energy erupts, engulfing the monster in a blinding, golden furnace of light. The beast snarls, its eyes burning with a primal, unyielding hunger for destruction. Turan stands his ground, bracing for the inevitable collision with the towering, dark terror. Quiet resolve settles over him as he prepares to employ a more primitive method. His fingers wrap around a simple stone, imbuing it with a sudden, sharp intensity. With practiced grace, he readies his sling to honor the legacy of his trade. The monster lunges, closing the distance with a speed that defies its heavy frame. Concentrated power flows into the pebble, forcing the material to crystallize and harden instantly. Turan releases his hold, sending the enchanted projectile hurtling toward the encroaching, lethal threat. Golden light reflects in his eyes as he witnesses the lethal power he unleashed. Turan swings his sling, igniting the air with a brilliant arc of energy. He plants his feet firmly, grounding himself before the final, decisive strike. Intense golden light flares in his eyes as he channels raw magical power. A focused beam of energy erupts from his hand, tearing through the air. The projectile strikes the beast, its hide unable to withstand the magical force. Dark blood sprays as the monster recoils from the devastating, sudden impact. Pure energy continues to bore through the creature, shattering its defenses completely. Dust and debris explode outward, marking the violent end of the beast's charge. Turan stands his ground, staring down the massive, dying threat before him. A cold, confident smirk plays on his lips as he prepares the finish. High above the battlefield, a massive rock hovers, waiting for his final command. With a final, brutal motion, he brings the heavy stone down upon them. The monster suffers a final, crushing blow to its hardened skull. Turan gazes down at the wreckage of his own violent creation. He observes the cooling corpse, testing his newfound power for the first time. Disposing of the beast feels like a tedious chore to the weary victor. Resentment lingers on his face as he considers the ungrateful villagers nearby. Turan gazes upon the wreckage of his own violent, desperate choices. The chilling realization of his true nature burns within his eyes. Unseen forces once danced at his fingertips with effortless, playful grace. A young boy discovered the intoxicating thrill of bending reality itself. Innocence shielded the child from the dark consequences of his gift. Turan's mother stood witness to the terrifying bloom of his power. Childhood wonder blinded him to the fear he instilled in others. Turan's mother shattered his joy with a desperate, sharp cry of terror. Gravity reclaimed the stolen objects as the heavy silence finally descended. Turan's mother knelt to bridge the widening chasm between their hearts. The young boy nodded, clinging to the fragile promise of their bond. A mother demanded the total abandonment of his dangerous, hidden legacy. Turan's mother gazes down with a crushing weight of maternal sorrow. The young boy seeks understanding, his voice trembling with unspoken questions. Deep within his eyes, the memory of ancient warnings flickers brightly. Legends speak of divine golden blood flowing to save the ancestors. An old man with a staff confirms the boy's dark heritage. Shadows stretch long as the harsh reality of their caste persists. A large shadowed figure looms, painting a grim picture of oppression. Turan stares ahead, grasping the lethal necessity of his absolute silence. His mother searches his face, desperate for a final, binding oath. Years pass in quietude beneath the watchful eyes of the world. A hand pulls back the veil on his hidden life. Turan remains a ghost, guarding his secret from the outside world. Isolation remains his only shield against the prying eyes of the world. Cold, calculating focus burns within his steady, unblinking gaze. Violent hammering against the door shatters the stillness of his sanctuary. Turan peers through the sliver of the doorway, assessing the incoming threat. A large man with dark hair and mustache confronts him with hostility. Boredom masks the sharp, lethal instincts coiled beneath his calm exterior. He turns his back on the villagers, dismissing their loud, empty accusations. A sudden, aggressive grip on his collar forces him to stop moving. The large man with dark hair and mustache bellows his false, heated claims. Turan realizes the true, manipulative intent hidden behind their desperate, angry facade. Uneasy faces of the villagers reflect their growing dread and uncertain resolve. Terror flickers in a single eye as the reality of death takes hold. Turan gazes upward with a strained expression, processing the weight of his reality. A man with a mustache bellows his name, fueled by unbridled, aggressive rage. The man with a mustache lunges forward, throwing a desperate, heavy-handed punch. Turan lies on the ground, his eyes reflecting the cold necessity of survival. Swift retaliation lands hard, silencing his attacker with a precise, calculated strike. Villagers swarm the open field, brandishing wooden clubs against their solitary target. Determination hardens his features as he considers the true cost of power. One villager collapses into the grass, defeated by an unseen, magical force. Turan maneuvers through the chaos, applying his abilities with subtle, restrained precision. Hands clamp down on a wooden club, halting the incoming, violent strike. He blocks the blow, ensuring his defense remains lethal enough to survive. Absolute dominance manifests as he systematically dismantles the group of angry villagers. Turan strikes with precision, shattering the wooden clubs wielded by the aggressive villagers. Splinters of wood scatter violently as the villagers' weapons are rendered completely useless. One villager collapses into the grass, stunned by the sudden, overwhelming display of power. Turan stands tall, his secret exposed only to those now defeated in the field. Cold judgment fills his eyes as he questions the villagers' misplaced, foolish aggression. Terrified, two women raise their hands in a desperate plea for their own safety. A sharp, calculated smirk forms on Turan's face as he contemplates his next move. Returning to the quiet solitude of his room, he begins to don his coat. He adjusts his hair, his mind already calculating the inevitable fallout from this confrontation. His hand reaches out, ready to secure his belongings and face the coming chaos. Closing his eyes, Turan prepares to endure the relentless, petty demands of the town. The pounding on his door signals that the villagers have returned, completely relentless. A heavy fist strikes the wooden door with relentless, demanding force. Turan flings the door open, his frustration finally boiling over into anger. Standing before him is a tall man with a calm, imposing presence. Kiorn offers a polite smile, masking the true intent of his visit. Confusion flickers across Turan's face as he assesses the unexpected, bearded stranger. Kiorn gestures vaguely, dismissively mentioning the aggressive villagers who just left earlier. A sharp glint of suspicion hardens in Turan's cold, calculating eyes. He notices the worn leather and steel hilt strapped to Kiorn's hip. Turan attempts to regain control, questioning if the stranger seeks an in. He exhales sharply, steadying his nerves before navigating this dangerous social encounter. The heavy wooden door swings shut, sealing the two men inside together. A simple meal sits waiting, cold and untouched on the wooden table. Kiorn hungrily devours the simple meal, clearly savoring every modest bite. Turan remains guarded while answering the stranger's probing questions about his isolation. A deep, contemplative silence fills the room as Kiorn drinks his fill. Kiorn watches the young man with an unreadable, piercing intensity. Turan instinctively reaches for his mug to mask his growing unease. Confused by the sudden shift in tone, Turan pauses his meal. Kiorn observes Turan, noting that his refined behavior belies his simple origin. Memories of his mother surface as Turan speaks of his quiet loss. Kiorn offers a gesture of respect, honoring the memory of the deceased. Turan stands firmly, grounding himself in the values his mother instilled. Kiorn finally reveals the true motive behind his arrival in town. Turan listens intently as the dangerous nature of the request unfolds. Turan gazes ahead, his expression hardening as the truth finally settles in. Kiorn stands as an imposing shadow, confirming the weight of Turan's hidden lineage. Chewing slowly on a twig, Kiorn grants the young man a moment's reprieve. Turan scans the quiet room, his senses straining against an unseen, lingering threat. Kiorn remains unervingly still, his composure acting as a silent, chilling mirror. A sharp, biting question from Kiorn cuts through the heavy, stagnant room air. Mockery dances in Kiorn's eyes as he probes the depth of Turan's courage. Turan finally demands the truth, forcing Kiorn to confront his own mysterious identity. Turan questions the necessity of his secrecy, while Turan's mom continues her household chores. Confusion flickers across Turan's face as the shadows of noble cruelty emerge. Sorrow fills his mother's gaze while she exposes the brutal reality of knights. Solemn figures gather in the golden light, awaiting a dark and hidden command. Kiorn forces Turan to confront the fragility of his simple, domestic life. Doubt clouds the young man's eyes as he considers the mentor's dark warning. Turan, steeling his resolve, accepts the grim necessity of keeping his secret hidden. Shadows stretch between the pair, while the price of survival becomes painfully clear. Kiorn speaks of lethal stakes, unaware of his companion's true, hidden nature. Turan remains stoic, his eyes betraying nothing of the power he possesses. A piercing gaze demands an explanation that the older man cannot provide. Tension hangs heavy in the room, thick with unspoken secrets and caution. Kiorn laughs off the heavy silence, attempting to lighten the sudden mood. Disbelief flickers across the younger man's face as he processes the comment. Regret washes over Kiorn, who quickly pivots to soothe the visible discomfort. Turan offers a faint smile, his defenses lowering just a slight fraction. An open hand reaches out, bridging the distance between two wary souls. Kiorn introduces himself with a warm, disarming grin, extending a friendly gesture. Hands clasped firmly, marking the beginning of an unexpected and fragile alliance. Turan claims a simple life, concealing his magical potential behind a lie. Two lives separated by decades find common ground over a simple, shared meal. Kiorn observes his young companion, noting the subtle differences between their aging paths. Turan speaks of his past, peeling back a layer of his mysterious history. A veteran wanderer reflects on his choice to trade stability for endless horizons. The young man offers a quiet smile, masking the true depth of his secrets. Quiet hours pass as two strangers build a bridge through casual, honest words. Genuine laughter escapes the seasoned hunter, lightening the heavy atmosphere of their meeting. Finding kinship in an unlikely place, both men begin to lower their guard. Time slips away unnoticed as the night transforms into the soft glow of dawn. Morning light spills through the window, signaling the sudden end of their respite. Both realize the night has vanished, forcing them to return to the road. Turan leaves behind a token of value, settling the debt for their shared evening. Turan offers a final, warm farewell before parting ways with his companion for now. Kiorn flashes a knowing grin, hinting that their paths are bound to cross again. Green hills overlook the quiet village below. Peaceful livestock graze across the open, sun-drenched pasture. Turan issues a quiet, authoritative command to the animals surrounding him. The flock instantly responds to the subtle shift in his presence. He guides the sheep with an ease that betrays his hidden strength. Memories of their unexpected bond soften his expression into a gentle smile. Kindness radiates from his touch as he comforts the grazing creatures. Kiorn reflects on the true character of the man he just left behind. Turan continues his walk, leading the obedient flock across the meadow. A flicker of uncertainty crosses his gaze as he contemplates the future. Midden travels through the dense forest, his boots crunching against the forest floor. He pauses to glance backward, sensing that something is fundamentally out of place. Signs of a violent struggle scar the landscape, yet the air remains eerily still. Midden stops before a towering tree, his gaze fixed on the pulsing, embedded crystal. Confusion deepens as he wonders if another powerful wizard has already intervened here. A flicker of relief crosses his face, quickly replaced by a sharp, sudden alarm. He spins around, his instincts screaming that a hidden predator is watching him now. A massive, corrupted claw slams into the earth, pulsating with a sickening, golden light. Shadows coalesce into a grotesque, blood-stained maw filled with rows of jagged teeth. Midden recoils as the towering, spectral wraith of a monster manifests before his eyes. Horror registers on his features as he contemplates the dark intent behind this manifestation. The massive, shadow-wreathed limb descends, threatening to crush everything in its path. Kiorn parries the crushing blow, sending a brilliant shockwave through the dark woods. He observes the corrupted remains, analyzing the lethal negligence left by a mysterious wizard. Leaping with lethal intent, Kiorn descends upon the wraith to end its dark existence. Suspicion clouds his judgment as he questions the strange motives behind such reckless power. Observing the battlefield, he realizes the sheer incompetence required to create this cursed entity. Energy surges between his palms as he prepares to purge the lingering, dark corruption. Kyorn channels a concentrated stream of light, his focus locked onto the shifting shadows. A blinding lance of pure energy erupts from his hand, tearing through the darkness. The strike connects, yet the monster absorbs the impact with an unsettling, hollow silence. Disbelief washes over him as the realization of his own powerlessness begins to settle. Vapor dissipates into the air, leaving Kyorn alone in a sudden, eerie, empty clearing. Alert and desperate, he scans the forest for the invisible threat lurking nearby now. Dark, viscous liquid bubbles beneath his boots, signaling the creature's proximity. Kyorn stands frozen as a towering, shadowy horror looms over him. A massive, dark claw strikes, forcing him into a desperate, narrow evasion. The sheer scale of this threat far exceeds a standard knight's capability. He skids across the rocky earth, blood trailing from a jagged wound. Exhaustion clouds his vision while he processes the nightmare of this encounter. Kyorn accepts the grim reality that his journey may end right here. Heavy, ragged breaths escape him as his physical strength begins to fail. Defiance burns in his eyes, fueling a final, lethal vow of retaliation. Golden mana surges into his palm, crackling with a volatile, concentrated energy. The monster's claw descends, poised to crush everything in its path. He prepares his last strike, channeling every remaining ounce of his power. Turan unleashes a torrent of raw, crackling energy against the encroaching shadow. A blinding flash of magical brilliance consumes the surrounding darkness in seconds. Blue light carves through the monster, shattering its defenses with overwhelming force. Kyorn stands stunned, witnessing the absolute annihilation of the once unstoppable nightmare. Silence returns to the forest as the creature lies broken and defeated. Kyorn gazes at the young man, desperate to understand the sudden display. Turan turns away, his casual tone belying the magnitude of his secret. He strides through the woods, leaving the echoes of the battle behind. The weight of the truth settles heavily upon the weary mentor's shoulders. Both men stand amidst the trees, the distance between them feeling immense. Turan challenges the logic of a man risking his life for another. A simple justification forms on his lips, hanging in the quiet air. A fallen beast lies silent, marking the end of a brutal struggle. Kyorn questions the young man's dangerous commitment to their recent, deadly path. Turan brushes off concerns about his meager earnings with a carefree laugh. Curiosity flickers in his eyes as Kyorn labels the villagers as helpless. Kyorn paints a bleak picture of lives lived in constant, shivering terror. Turan argues that true power demands a moral duty to protect others. A weary smile touches the mentor's face as he defends differing perspectives. Quiet amusement plays across a face hidden from the harsh world. Turan wonders aloud if every soul deserves their own chosen path. Destruction erupts nearby, shattering the calm of the ancient, towering forest. Kyorn desperately urges his companion to flee from the overwhelming, lethal threat. Panic defines the mentor's face as he demands an urgent village evacuation. Kyorn stands defiant before the towering monstrosity, his hand ignited with desperate flames. Doubt clouds his resolve as the veteran realizes his own limits are approaching. A sudden shift in the atmosphere catches the hunter's sharp, observant eye. Ancient forces stir, manifesting as a stone suspended in a swirling blue aura. Kyorn watches in disbelief as the young man reveals a power beyond all expectations. Recognition dawns upon him, shattering his previous assumptions about his quiet companion. Legends whisper of mages capable of bending reality itself to their singular will. Turan stands at the center of a storm, radiating raw and untamed magical energy. A calm, knowing smile signals the true awakening of a world-altering power today. A towering beast with a burning green eye looms over Turan. The man with white-streaked hair smiles as he tests his own limits. Kyorn warns that even with great talent, this foe is too dangerous. Desperation sets in as they prepare to face the monster together. Kyorn unleashes a surge of blue energy to hold back the creature. Raw magical power crackles, illuminating the air with an intense golden glow. The energy pulses, waiting for a master to command its volatile strength. Blinding light erupts, tearing through the forest in a chaotic magical display. Turan watches his efforts fail, his frustration mounting with every passing second. Heavy strikes land against the stone hide, but the creature remains unharmed. The man with white-streaked hair shouts a warning about the creature's nature. Turan kneels in the dust, searching for a way to stop the wraith. Turan reaches toward the monster, desperation fueling his raw, unrefined magical intent. A galaxy-like iris flickers with the latent, untamed energy of a hidden lineage. Violent flames erupt, yet the creature remains completely indifferent to the searing heat. Exhaustion settles over Turan as his most powerful efforts fail to leave a mark. Kiorn watches in stunned silence, recognizing the dangerous lack of fundamental wizarding knowledge. Dark suspicions cloud the mentor's mind regarding the boy's mysterious and violent past. Raw, explosive power surges from Turan, tearing through the air with reckless, untethered force. A look of intense focus hardens his expression as he processes the harsh critique. With sudden, agile speed, he lunges forward to bridge the gap between himself and destruction. Swirling embers dance across his palm, finally bending to the young man's growing will. Kiorn observes the volatile display, noting that raw talent is no substitute for discipline. Pure, concentrated fire coalesces in his hand, leaving the mentor breathless at such speed. Turan plants his feet firmly, bracing for the impact of his own power. A violent torrent of flame erupts, smashing directly into the encroaching darkness. Deep within the inferno, a singular, malevolent eye stares back at the world. The monstrous wraith writhes in agony as the searing heat peels away its form. Kiorn bellows a desperate command, urging his student to maintain the mental connection. Turan stands amidst the scorching blaze, channeling every ounce of his volatile mana. His eyes ignite with a brilliant, supernatural light as the spell reaches completion. An overwhelming wave of fire surges forward, obliterating the remnants of the threat. Kiorn gazes upward at the dissipating smoke, finally allowing himself a moment of relief. He reflects on the sheer magnitude of the threat, acknowledging its noble-level destructive capacity. Disbelief widens the mentor's eyes as the impossible reality of the victory sinks in. The youth stands silent, his sudden, raw power defying every expectation of his lineage. Kiorn directs his student toward the lingering essence of the defeated, fallen wraith. Turan extends a hesitant hand, preparing to draw the residual power within himself. Closing his eyes, he focuses entirely on the rhythm of the surrounding mana. Emerald wisps begin to coil and dance, responding to the youth's quiet command. Turan reaches out, pulling the vibrant, glowing energy directly into his open palm. A sudden, sharp brilliance ignites within his eyes as the connection takes hold. Veins of raw, pulsating light trace across his silhouette like a living map. His iris shifts into a piercing, luminous green, reflecting the depth of power. Kiorn observes the display, struggling to reconcile such mastery with a total novice. Clenching his fist, Turan confirms that this overwhelming sensation is entirely brand new. The mentor explains how the predatory consumption of mana accelerates a mage's growth. Kiorn realizes the boy's innate magical talent is truly on an entirely different level. Kiorn searches for clarity regarding the origins of such raw, untamed potential. Turan turns his attention toward the mentor, bracing for the inevitable interrogation. A formal bow from Kiorn signals a shift toward a more serious inquiry. Turan acknowledges the weight of the question while keeping his own secrets. Ignoring the inquiry, Kiorn directs his focus toward the fresh, bleeding wound. Silence stretches between them as the mentor contemplates the implications of his discovery. Medicine replaces the tension as they settle into a quiet, uneasy atmosphere. Turan firmly rejects the notion of nobility, anchoring himself to his humble life. Memories of a final request linger in the air like a heavy shroud. Kiorn offers a grim warning about the predatory nature of the noble houses. Turan looks on, caught off guard by the sudden reflection on his mother's wisdom. The mentor admits that such caution was perhaps the only path for survival. Kiorn speaks of the inevitable bloodshed that follows raw, untamed magical power. Ancient grudges ignited a brutal war between the House of Erebion and Zahar. A staggering portion of the Erebion forces were wiped out during the conflict. Turan listens in silence as his mentor recounts a deeply personal loss. A survivor in armor remembers the faces of those stolen by the war. Kiorn explains how easily the lives of knights are spent on the battlefield. Doubts surface as the mentor challenges the perceived limits of Turan's own talent. He admits that Turan's raw strength eclipsed his own during the recent encounter. Kiorn asserts that the young man possesses a lineage beyond a simple knight. The weight of this revelation settles heavily over the quiet, dimly lit room. Turan questions if his mother's account of his father was merely a fabrication. Kiorn urges his student to leave the safety of the hill for good. Kiorn explains that humanity must strengthen its ranks to truly master the wider world. Ancient, banished races wait in the shadows for a moment to reclaim their power. Constant internal conflict among the nobility leaves the realm vulnerable to these lurking threats. A door swings open, revealing the vast possibilities waiting beyond this quiet, isolated hill. Kiorn challenges his student to admit that his current life has become stiflingly small. Turan gazes into the distance, clearly contemplating the path his mentor has laid out. He wonders aloud what true purpose he could possibly find in the world below. The older man lists the elusive treasures of status and connection that remain out of reach. Kiorn paints a vivid picture of a life spent hunting monsters and carving out glory. The tools of a warrior sit idle, waiting for someone to claim a new destiny. Kiorn glances back, sensing the flicker of ambition finally igniting within his young student. Turan realizes that his future must hold far more than the simple life of a shepherd. Turan gazes toward the horizon, his youthful uncertainty giving way to newfound resolve. Kiorn offers his unwavering guidance, eager to uncover the boy's hidden magical potential. Legends speak of the Freyans, whose ancient essence flows through the veins of nobility. A flicker of flame dances in his palm as Kiorn probes for signs of power. Turan studies his own hand, questioning the source of his raw, untapped physical strength. Still waters mirror the quiet anticipation of a secret waiting to be revealed. Kiorn contemplates the boy's lineage, his expression shifting into a mask of deep focus. Open skies stretch above, silent witnesses to the life-altering conversation unfolding between them. Turan looks to his mentor, his voice trembling with uncertainty and growing concern. Kiorn bows his head, the weight of a long-buried truth finally pressing upon him. Turan remains breathless, waiting for the revelation that will define his entire future path. The older man prepares to speak, his voice carrying the burden of a dangerous legacy. Kiorn stands with Turan, revealing the dark history of a powerful, ancient house. Legends speak of a hooded figure, a relentless hunter who leaves only ruin behind. A man with dark hair screams as the brutal conflict with House Erebion unfolds. Turan gazes ahead, the chilling reality of his bloodline finally sinking into his soul. Turan is visibly shaken by the mere mention of House Sahar. The weight of his family's dark legacy begins to crush him. Kiorn stands amidst the ghosts of war, challenging the boy's internal conflict. Doubt clouds his mind as he questions his own moral responsibility. His mentor breaks the silence with a single, grounding word. Kiorn offers a reassuring touch to steady his troubled student. Turan searches his mentor's face for clarity and hidden guidance. A gentle smile from Kiorn suggests there is more to learn. Eyes focus on the truth beneath the surface of things. They stand together, contemplating the path that lies ahead. Kiorn shares a final, knowing look with his young pupil. Turan finds resolve, finally understanding the road he must take. Turan stands with Kiorn, their bond forged through years of quiet, rigorous discipline. Deep reflection clouds his eyes as he considers the potential impact of his choices. They stand together, two souls contemplating the uncertain road that lies ahead of them. Kiorn observes his student with a gaze that seems to pierce through every doubt. Turan offers a soft smile, finally finding the courage to step into the world. A measured nod from his mentor confirms that the timing must be just right. Patiently waiting for his mentor to recover, the young mage commits to his duty. Soft light filters through the curtains, casting long shadows across their secluded wooden home. Kiorn speaks of the fundamental essence that powers every spell in their vast world. Listening intently, Turan balances his curiosity against the heavy responsibility of his growing power. The two sit at their table, ready to bridge the gap between theory and practice. Essential laws of magic are laid bare, defining the boundaries of what is possible. Turan listens intently as the final lesson begins to take shape. A bandaged hand serves as a stark reminder of life's fragility. Kiorn points to the map, detailing the storied history of the Revista bloodline. Kiorn explains how familiarity shapes the flow of one's magical energy. Turan contemplates the simple comparison between casting spells and throwing stones. Kiorn stands ready to demonstrate the necessity of speed and power. Still water waits in the mug, holding the potential for sudden change. Turan observes his mentor, searching for the truth behind the arcane. Electrical sparks dance above the liquid as mana begins to surge. Violent bubbling reveals the instability caused by a lack of proper causality. Turan finally begins to grasp the complex nature of his training. Flames erupt from his hands as he tests his newfound understanding. Kiorn beams with pride, clearly impressed by his student's sharp, analytical mind. Turan probes deeper, questioning the fundamental differences between common life and magical beasts. A curious sheep watches from the window as the two men talk. Turan considers the heavy burden of mastery required to truly command the arcane. Curiosity strikes as Turan asks if the Zahar lineage possesses its own unique arts. Kiorn rises from his seat, challenging his pupil to put theory into practice. Closing his eyes, Turan centers his focus to weave the mana around him. Vapor swirls around Turan as he seeks confirmation of his successful magical concealment. An eerie distortion ripples through the air where Turan stood just moments ago. Kiorn stares at the empty space, genuinely stunned by the boy's sudden disappearance. A nervous swallow betrays Kiorn's shock at witnessing such a flawless, unseen technique. Silence fills the room where the young mage has vanished from sight entirely. Shimmering energy ripples away as Turan finally drops his complex concealment spell. Turan contemplates the raw, dangerous potential dormant within his own clenched fist. Kiorn warns that even the most overwhelming magical gifts possess their own limitations. Kiorn questions the wisdom of training a mage bound to an enemy house. Turan reminds his mentor that a life debt outweighs any political family ties. Kiorn places a hand over his heart, affirming his absolute faith in Turan. An old man with a mustache gasps, clearly stunned by the sudden revelation. Turan stands ready to depart, leaving the villagers to face their uncertain future. Turan smiles coldly, offering no comfort to those now scrambling for a replacement. Concerned villagers exchange nervous glances, realizing their shepherd is truly walking away forever. A man with a bandaged nose turns to his companions, seeking a desperate solution. Frustration boils over as the old man with a mustache curses their predicament. Turan grips the small pouch tightly, feeling the weight of his final reward. Kiorn walks alongside his student, offering final guidance on the path ahead. Turan glances toward his mentor, contemplating the silence between them. Kiorn maintains a steady, calm expression as he prepares to depart. A faint, knowing smile touches the young mage's lips. They pause on the woodland trail where their journeys finally diverge. Kiorn explains his preference for solitude, closing the chapter on their time together. Turan offers a sincere expression of gratitude for everything his teacher provided. Kiorn looks down with a gentle, final word of encouragement for his student. Turan gazes up at the elder, his face bright with hopeful anticipation. Solitary footsteps echo as the mentor fades into the dense forest shadows. Turan watches the horizon, his eyes reflecting a newfound, quiet resolve. A young Turan runs toward Turan's mom through the peaceful, sunlit pastures. Kiorn walks ahead as the boy searches for a true father figure. Harsh winds whip across the unforgiving, desolate sands of the wasteland. Deep, jagged canyons carve through the quiet and empty desert landscape. A lone traveler wanders deeper into the heart of the dusty ravine. Turan pulls back his hood to survey the path lying ahead. The mage catches sight of unexpected figures blocking his solitary route forward. A mysterious group of hooded figures stands watch in the distance. Dust rises as a heavy boot presses firmly into the shifting sand. Turan steps toward the group to seek guidance through this barren territory. A man with an eye patch confronts the stranger, his voice sharp and guarded. The bandit reveals the way to Muriai, leaving the mage momentarily unsettled. Turan politely dismisses the group as he prepares to continue his long journey. Heavy boots suddenly halt his progress, grounding him firmly in the shifting desert sand. A hooded figure blocks his path, demanding more than just simple directions from him. Turan gazes back, his expression unreadable as he considers the bandit's aggressive new demand. Steel glints under the harsh sun as the group circles the young mage closely. Turan remains unfazed, calmly questioning the true nature of these men surrounding his position. The bandit leader sneers, dismissing the traveler's lack of caution as nothing but pure recklessness. A cold blade presses against his neck, forcing the young mage to stand perfectly still. Realization dawns upon him that these men are ruthless killers who show no mercy. Memories of Kiorn sitting at a quiet table offer a sharp contrast to the danger. Flickering flames dance above a mug, a reminder of the powerful lessons he once learned. He stands alone now, ready to apply his mentor's teachings against the encroaching lethal threat. Turan smiles coldly, transforming his dangerous predicament into an opportunity for lethal training. A man in a hood smiles as he prepares for a lethal encounter. Skepticism turns to sudden realization in the eyes of his gathered foes. They mock the stranger, unaware of the raw power he truly commands. Energy pulses from his fingertips, turning the desert floor into a weapon. A sudden, violent vortex of wind sends the attackers spiraling into chaos. Turan watches with cold focus, his mastery over the elements now absolute. His enemies collapse, broken by the overwhelming force of his unleashed magic. Turan channels his intent, gathering droplets of water into a singular form. A jagged shard of ice solidifies, humming with a sharp, lethal potential. He stands ready, surrounded by floating blades of frost and frozen death. Terror flashes across the face of a man in a hood. Piercing ice strikes home, ending the threat with ruthless, chilling efficiency. Turan questions the efficiency of his own complex magical training. An older man with an eye patch and hood begs for mercy. 3 men in hoods cower, desperate to save their lives. A heavy boot crushes the dry earth beneath his weight. Debris rains down as Turan stands amidst the sudden destruction. Fear grips the older man with an eye patch and hood. Turan surveys the grim, charred aftermath of a brutal conflict. He looms over the trembling captive, demanding a single answer. Turan probes the logic behind their failed and reckless ambush. Confusion flickers across his face at the unexpected motive revealed. The older man with an eye patch and hood admits his fatal miscalculation. Turan acknowledges the bitter lesson learned from his own politeness. Desperate hope flickers in the eyes of the terrified eye patch man. A lethal orb of magic pulses silently above the captive's head. Kiorn offers a grim piece of wisdom to his young student. Turan prepares his gear while absorbing the harsh reality of survival. Cold steel serves as a reminder of the violence ahead. He stares down at the consequence of his necessary, brutal decision. Turan gazes upward, finally accepting the path he must now tread. Deep tracks in the sand trace the path of past crimes. Solitude stretches across the barren, unforgiving desert landscape. The weight of his actions settles heavily upon his shoulders. Fear consumes the trembling man as he faces certain judgment. Mercy would only invite these predators to strike innocent lives again. A heavy boot strikes the ground, marking a new beginning. Turan stands alone, gazing out into a vast, uncharted horizon. Genuine wonder washes over him as he surveys the landscape. The sprawling city of Murai unfolds beneath the bright sky. A young girl navigates the bustling streets, clutching a hand. Turan finds himself overwhelmed by the sheer density of life. Towering stone structures rise, dwarfing the simple village homes remembered. Walking through the market, the vibrant city energy pulses around. A local fruit vendor eagerly beckons the traveler to approach. Turan politely declines the offer, his focus fixed elsewhere today. Kiorn offers his timeless wisdom on finding rest within cities. The fruit vendor grows impatient with the lack of interest. Turan stands amidst the bustling market, completely bewildered by the local social customs. A finger points toward the vibrant fruit, demanding a price for the simple goods. Turan fumbles with his coins, questioning the strange currency required for a purchase. The transaction concludes as the traveler finally secures his path forward through payment. A wooden sign marks the destination, promising shelter within the city's largest inn. Lena greets the newcomer with a bright, welcoming smile that hides her true intentions. Turan steps into the lobby, his guarded expression clashing with the innkeeper's flirtatious tone. Lena clasps her hands together, her playful demeanor intensifying as she confirms his stay. He offers a small pouch, shifting the conversation toward his singular, urgent objective. Lena studies him intently, wondering why a guest would prioritize hunting monsters over rest. Turan focuses on his mission, recalling the lessons of his mentor regarding mana absorption. She gazes at the coin, clearly more interested in the traveler than his questions. The blonde woman gestures through the room, emphasizing that nothing comes without a cost. Wooden barrels rest in the dim storage, marking a pivot toward the city's heart. Turan clutches his mug, his confusion deepening as he processes the unfamiliar urban environment. The blonde woman leans in, amused by the traveler's complete lack of city knowledge. Turan remains visibly stunned as he struggles to process the woman's unexpected, forward behavior. She watches him with a knowing gaze, offering a path to the power he desires. Turan sits at the table, his curiosity piqued by the concept of a monster hunter. Legends speak of an ordinary soul ascending to wizardry through the slaying of monsters. A sudden hand lands on the table, shattering the quiet of their intense conversation. Midden stands tall, claiming he witnessed the transformation into a wizard with his eyes. Turan stares in disbelief as he reunites with the man he thought was long gone. Midden brushes off the surprise with a grin, signaling a new turn for the duo. Turan presses for the truth behind their strange claims of magical ascension. Lena explains that hunting monsters is the key to unlocking hidden wizarding potential. Midden and his companions beam with the confidence of men chasing a dream. Curiosity gets the better of Turan as he questions the group's actual standing. Midden inspects the wizard's gear with a critical, unimpressed look at his tools. Turan reveals a worn, humble sling that has seen many long, hard battles. The blonde man with a headband evaluates the sling as a viable weapon. An unexpected invitation to join their hunt catches the young traveler off guard. A subtle, polite smile masks his true intentions regarding their offer to hunt. Turan retreats to his room, finding no reason to align with these strangers. Exhaustion washes over him as he reflects on the day's overwhelming, chaotic events. Quiet solitude brings the weight of his journey from the village into focus. Turan channels his magical energy, contemplating the uncertain path lying before him. A sudden, sharp knocking sound breaks the silence of his lonely room. Turan sits upright in his bed, alert and wary of the intrusion. Memories of Kiorn warning him about constant vigilance surface in his mind. Kiorn reminds him that city life offers no guarantee of true safety. He acknowledges the mentor's wisdom, vowing to keep his guard up always. Turan approaches the door, his hand crackling with intense blue magical energy. Cautiously, he peers through the cracked door to see who is waiting. Shock widens his eyes as he realizes who stands on the other side. Lena greets him with a disarming smile, catching him completely off balance. Turan stares back, utterly bewildered by her bold and unexpected late-night arrival. She offers a provocative look, leaving him questioning her true, hidden intentions. Lena offers a coy smile, masking her true intentions behind a playful question. Turan stands firm in the doorway, forcing an uncomfortable reality upon his companion. Money talks in the city, but Turan finds the transactional nature of life wearying. She invades his personal space, claiming to read the secrets written on his face. A man drifts into a meditative state, seeking silence amidst the surrounding social chaos. Shock registers on her features as the weight of the conversation finally hits home. The warrior bellows a desperate warning, his face twisted in a mask of panic. Turan offers a cynical lesson on the hidden dangers lurking within the urban underworld. He warns that even with natural resilience, recklessness inevitably leads to a bitter end. Lena retreats down the wooden stairs, her annoyance palpable as she stalks away alone. Lying in the dim room, Turan reflects on the transactional coldness of city life. He stares into the shadows, bracing himself for the next demand from the darkness. Midden leads his companions upward while questioning the utility of a recent recruit. Turan smiles from his bed, suggesting the recruit serves as perfect monster bait. A cold, calculating gaze reveals the hunter's true intentions for the young man. Midden claims he merely hoped keeping the boss close would ensure his survival. Cruel amusement flickers across the lips of the man resting in the dark. Turan contemplates the possibility that this city might not be as heartless imagined. Quiet structures stand beneath a vast and uncaring sky. A man with a mustache waits behind the counter, offering his professional services. Turan challenges the clerk, refusing to be defined by a simple, official title. Surprise washes over the clerk as the hunter states his singular, dangerous purpose. Kiorn strokes a creature, his expression unreadable as he contemplates the path ahead. Turan sits quietly among the sheep as he listens to his mentor, Kiorn. Turan contemplates the harsh lessons learned from his grim journey. A formal document passes between two hands, sealing a dark pact. Turan studies the parchment, his expression hardened by years of struggle. The crude sketch of a predator serves as a chilling reminder. A mustachioed man warns of the unnatural horrors lurking in the wild. Turan accepts the lethal reality of his chosen path without hesitation. Memories of mangled flesh fuel his resolve to avoid past failures. The mustachioed individual observes the hunter with a detached, professional coldness. A hand presses down on the record, finalizing the grim transaction. The clerk dismisses the hunter, branding him as nothing more than thugs. He watches the hunter depart, already mourning a life soon lost. Ancient, unblinking eyes watch from the shadows of the deep forest. The lifeless remains of a lethal predator lie discarded upon the table. Shock ripples through the men as they stare at the impossible kill. Turan stands silently, his presence commanding the attention of the startled guild members. Calmly, the hunter confirms his solitary triumph against the deadly bird-like beast. Anxious officials scramble to fulfill the payment, desperate to appease the dangerous man. Heavy coins change hands, marking a swift end to this grim, professional transaction. Disbelief lingers as they inspect the pristine wings of the fallen monster. A piercing gaze narrows, silently assessing the true nature of this hunter. The mustachioed man falters, realizing the hunter has no intention of leaving yet. Fear takes root in their eyes when Turan asks for his next target. Cold determination defines his face, chilling the room with an unspoken, relentless demand. A feast awaits, but the hunt is far from reaching its conclusion. Lena gestures to the feast, stunned by the hunter's rapid, brutal efficiency. Turan sits in quiet focus, his appetite seemingly fueled by a darker purpose. A cold, singular ambition flickers in his eyes, transcending the simple lure of gold. Ancient arts allow him to siphon the fading essence from his fallen foes. He contemplates his own growth, measuring his power against the lessons of Kiorn. A restless gaze searches for the next source of strength in this world. Lena watches him with growing concern, sensing a hunger that food cannot satisfy. The sheer scale of his consumption leaves the observers questioning his true nature. A sturdy man offers a friendly smile, oblivious to the hunter's inner turmoil. Turan turns away from the table, his mind already drifting toward distant horizons. An unexpected hand clamps onto his shoulder, shattering the silence of his departure. Unwelcome figures emerge from the shadows, their jagged grins dripping with malicious intent. Aggressive taunts break the air as unwanted attention shifts toward the hunter. A sudden, violent strike connects, forcing a sharp reaction from the target. Turan stumbles back, his composure momentarily shattered by the unprovoked, brutal assault. He remains eerily still, his calm demeanor hiding a dangerous, rising inner storm. Another attacker lunges forward, hoping to catch the hunter off his guard. Turan effortlessly deflects the blow, his reflexes honed by countless deadly encounters. A swift kick sends one aggressor flying as the tavern erupts into chaos. He intercepts a swinging chair with a palm strike, shattering the wood. Turan grips his opponent's face, exerting crushing pressure to disable the threat. With a flick of his wrist, he tosses the remaining attacker aside. A witness watches the carnage unfold with a twisted, unsettling sense of amusement. Panic ripples through the room as the realization of the violence spreads. The thugs bow in unison, desperate to avoid further conflict with the hunter. Turan stands firm in the doorway, his cold gaze silencing their hollow excuses. Desperation clearly drives the thugs to act out against those with more resources. Shame burns in the eyes of the two men as they face the aftermath. Midden questions the true depth of their struggle while trying to remain composed. A tight fist reveals the hidden tensions simmering beneath the surface of conversation. Turan extends a helping hand, offering a lifeline to his struggling companion now. Confusion washes over Midden as he stares at the unexpected gift in hand. A faint, knowing smile hints at the calculated nature of his sudden generosity. Midden eagerly offers his services to bridge the gap between them with secrets. Ancient stone streets whisper secrets of a city drowning in its own shadows. Turan stands alone, weighing the heavy cost of his final hunt in this city. Turan readies himself to leave the city behind for new, distant horizons. Reflecting on his time, he recalls the unexpected value of his recent alliance. He contrasts Midden against the hardened, cynical nature of men like Kjorn. A sudden, sharp instinct stops him cold in his tracks. The iron tang of fresh blood hangs heavy in the still air. Dread coils tightly as he prays his instincts have led him astray. He surges forward, abandoning caution to reach the source of the scent. Deep, jagged gouges mar the tree, speaking of a brutal, violent struggle. Silence greets him in the clearing, heavy with an unspoken, looming threat. A broken, bloodied figure lies slumped against the trunk, barely clinging to life. Recognition strikes with the force of a physical blow to his chest. Midden stares back, his eyes glassed over by the encroaching shadow of death. A chilling realization dawns as he questions the identity of the fallen man. Turan stares down, his expression hardening as the gravity of the situation settles. Widening eyes reflect the sheer horror of the carnage splayed out before him. Blood-soaked fingers reach towards scattered coins, marking the final, desperate act of life. Despair grips Turan while he desperately seeks answers from his dying companion, Midden. Turan kneels in the forest, horrified by the carnage surrounding a dying Midden. The grim silence of the woods is broken by a faint, desperate warning. Midden struggles to speak, his final words painting a picture of sheer terror. Blood drips from sharp, unnatural teeth as something feeds in the shadows. Turan surveys the gruesome scene, realizing he has stumbled into a lethal trap. A nightmarish creature emerges, its glowing red eyes locked onto its next victim. Instinct takes over as Turan shifts his focus, preparing for the incoming strike. The beast lunges with terrifying speed, closing the distance in a blur. Turan grits his teeth, bracing for the impact of the brutal, sudden assault. Narrowly dodging the lethal blow, he scrambles to regain his footing and focus. Mana surges from his palm, weaving a shimmering barrier against the encroaching threat. He channels his power, ready to defend himself against the unnatural, predatory hunger. Turan unleashes a cutting arc of energy, slicing through the dense forest air. Blue projectiles streak toward the large furry creature with red eyes. The beast expertly deflects every incoming strike with its razor-sharp limbs. Eyes locked on the target, Turan calculates his next precise move. Powerful, clawed feet impact the earth, preparing for a devastating leap. The large creature launches itself into the air, closing the distance instantly. A piercing red eye glares with predatory intent at its chosen prey. Dust clouds billow as the beast vanishes from sight in a heartbeat. Suddenly, the creature reappears, tearing across the ground with lethal speed. Turan vaults high above the monster, his blade gleaming in the light. He strikes with cold precision, drawing blood from the relentless predator. Landing gracefully, Turan maintains his momentum to keep the advantage alive. Turan bursts forward, his speed leaving a blurred trail in the forest. The creature with red eyes and white fur slams into the tree. Disoriented and cornered, the creature clings to the rough bark in desperation. A sudden, violent movement catches the light as the creature lunges forward. Dust and debris cloud the air, obscuring the path ahead entirely. Silence returns to the clearing where the white creature stands alone. Dark blood drips steadily from the wounded paw onto the forest floor. Defeated and broken, the creature finally collapses onto the cold, damp ground. Heavy boots step firmly onto the earth, signaling the end is near. Turan stands over his fallen prey, his expression cold and completely detached. He reaches out a hand, preparing to claim the lingering monster mana. Emerald energy surges around Turan as he absorbs the creature's remaining power. Turan senses a strange, overwhelming surge of power within the fallen beast. This unexpected intensity leaves him momentarily stunned by the sheer magical scale. Turning his gaze, he spots a mysterious person sitting against a tree. Turan confronts the individual, demanding to know why they conceal their identity. Silent tears track through the grime and blood on the injured face. The broken warrior looks up, his eyes filled with lingering, painful loyalty. Midden describes a hidden sanctuary of knowledge located in the nearby city. They discuss the legendary library rumored to hold thousands of ancient volumes. Turan observes the sudden change in demeanor as the topic shifts. The harsh reality of the library's exclusive entrance requirements dampens their hope. Understanding dawns on Turan as he processes the strict magical barrier. A quiet forest path stretches out, marking the start of their journey. Turan sets his sights on the legendary city of Aurum. Solitude defines the path ahead for the lone traveler. Stone markers stand as silent witnesses to lost companions. A heavy heart lingers on the memory of Midden. He turns away, leaving the past buried in shadows. New faces join Turan on the long road toward civilization. Curiosity flickers in his eyes as he studies the horizon. Majestic towers rise above the sprawling capital of Drem. Crowds surge toward the gates, eager to enter the city. Two guards in hooded cloaks watch every incoming traveler closely. Turan approaches the gate, noting the city's rigid structure. Sudden commands ring out, forcing him to stop abruptly. A guard in a hooded cloak shuts down his request with cold finality. He mocks the traveler's disheveled appearance, demanding he clean himself before daring to approach. Ancient stone towers pierce the sky, draped in thick, encroaching vines of old. Turan gazes upward, finally locating the legendary library Midden once spoke of in whispers. A sense of awe washes over him as he questions the arcane origins here. Two guards in capes stand motionless like statues before the grand, ornate blue doors. Turan steps forward, attempting to explain his purpose to the silent, watchful sentries. His bold claim of being a wizard draws immediate, sharp suspicion from the men. A man with brown hair erupts in anger, viewing the traveler as a delusional threat. He moves to forcibly block Turan, refusing to entertain such an absurd, impossible notion. Crimson energy ignites, revealing a hidden truth that stops the guard in his tracks. A man with goatee and white-streaked hair explains the silent language of sensed, superior mana. Turan narrows his eyes as the confrontation reaches a critical, volatile peak. Overwhelming red mana surges forward, crackling with an intensity that defies all expectations. The man with brown hair recoils instantly, struck by the sheer force released. Kenya rushes to his fallen companion, while Turan watches with an unreadable expression. The man with brown hair realizes Turan possesses power far beyond an ordinary wizard. Kenya quickly adopts a defensive, respectful posture to address the dangerous stranger properly. Turan remains unfazed, his calm demeanor contrasting sharply with the chaotic tension nearby. The knight explains the rigid protocols required to access the restricted library archives. Turan lets out a weary sigh as he begrudgingly accepts the tedious bureaucratic process. Frustration lingers in his gaze, having hoped for a much faster, cleaner resolution. A woman in a maid outfit works silently nearby, oblivious to the confrontation. She continues her chores, unaware of the powerful magic still lingering in air. Turan finds himself bewildered while surrounded by attentive maids in a lavish bath. He nervously requests space, his voice echoing against the polished walls of luxury. The women express genuine anxiety, fearing harsh retribution for failing their assigned duties. Grand architecture looms over the serene, manicured estate grounds. One maid stares in disbelief, completely captivated by the guest's striking appearance. She gasps, struggling to compose herself as her composure visibly begins to crumble. Tehran brushes his hair back, genuinely confused by the sudden, intense scrutiny. Trembling, the staff members bow deeply, stammering apologies for their unprofessional, lingering gazes. He offers a gentle smile, urging them to maintain a proper, respectful distance. Tehran steps forward, drawing the immediate attention of Azella and her companion. Azella observes him with a sharp, mocking grin, clearly unimpressed by his arrival. She teasingly remarks on his transformation, while a nearby attendant whispers a warning. Tehran and Azella stand face to face, finally introducing themselves to one another. He remains guarded about his origins, refusing to disclose his family house name. Azella smirks with cold amusement, clearly unimpressed by his attempt at keeping secrets. A cruel, calculated smile forms on her lips, foreshadowing a sudden, aggressive move. Golden mana erupts violently from her, flooding the room with overwhelming, suffocating pressure. Her eyes glow with intense power as she demands that he reveal his strength. Tehran stares back, caught in the wake of her blinding, golden magical assault. Tehran stands amidst a swirling vortex of raw, golden magical energy. Intense blue light flares within his eyes, signaling a dangerous power shift. Golden and blue magical currents collide, pinning two figures to the floor. A man in a suit shields three terrified maids from the blast. Violent streaks of magical energy tear through the opulent room. Tehran exhales deeply, his focus shifting as the chaotic energy subsides. Azella grins wildly, marveling at the crackling power between her fingers. Tehran stares at her, his expression hardening in silent, baffled confusion. Azella locks eyes with him, offering a proposal that halts the tension. They remain frozen in place, a surreal silence filling the expansive hall. Tehran breaks into a cold sweat, visibly overwhelmed by her sudden question. Laughter erupts from Azella, as she dismisses the entire situation as play. Azella flashes a playful, suggestive smile that lingers in the air between them. Tehran watches his companions walk away, leaving him alone with his mounting confusion. Deep in thought, he weighs the implications of her strange and sudden offer. A flicker of realization breaks through his stoic expression as the truth settles. His hand begins to tremble uncontrollably against the backdrop of the ornate room. Tehran studies his own shaking fingers, troubled by the immense power he just sensed. A golden crest glimmers on the wall, marking the entrance to a private sanctuary. He stands small and solitary before the imposing desk of a powerful local authority. Rug Voltas looks up with a calm, measured gaze that commands immediate, respectful attention. Tehran introduces himself, his voice steady despite the lingering unease from his recent encounter. Rug warns him plainly that the archives hold no secrets or hidden magical shortcuts. Unfazed by the cold reality, Tehran remains firm in his decision to proceed anyway. Rug Voltas grants him permission to return when the day begins anew. The towering structure looms over the quiet city streets. Tehran approaches the entrance as two guards stand in silent vigil. Heavy doors swing open to reveal the secrets held within. A sense of wonder washes over him at the sight. Spiraling stairs ascend into the vast, silent heart of knowledge. He steps into the hallowed hall, feeling small amidst the shelves. A soft voice greets him from the shadows of the room. The librarian steps forward, introducing herself with a cheerful wave. She prepares to outline the strict protocols of this ancient place. Surprise flickers across his face at her youthful, unexpected appearance. Tehran politely requests some space as she insists on watching him. The librarian guides Tehran through the silent, towering shelves of the archive. She offers a variety of genres to satisfy his curiosity about the world. Tehran stands stunned as she suggests something far more scandalous than he expected. He clarifies his true intention to learn the fundamental truths of reality. Ancient volumes settle onto the wooden table with a heavy, dust-filled thud. The librarian presents a curated selection of texts better suited for his needs. Tehran carefully lifts a weathered book, feeling the texture of its worn cover. Intricate, mysterious runes mark the surface of this strange, newfound object. His fingers tremble slightly as he turns the crisp, yellowed pages for inspection. Total concentration etches itself across his face as he absorbs the information. A faint smile touches his lips while he discovers the wonders within. Days blend into one another as he immerses himself in quiet study. Surreal landscapes shimmer under the glow of a strange, alien sun. He absorbs the secrets of distant races and the world's hidden geography. Legends of merfolk and ancient ships fill his mind with vivid wonder. Forgotten relics and dark arts from the old empire emerge from history. Newfound wisdom transforms his once empty world into a vibrant, living tapestry. Rug Voltas watches with a sharp, calculating gaze from behind his desk. Turan stands firm, meeting the older man's intense and expectant stare. Rug demands a steep price for the knowledge he has freely provided. A terrifying beast has claimed the lives of 4 brave knights already. Desperation etches lines of worry across Rug's face as he seeks help. Turan steps forward to accept the burden of a wizard's noble duty. The weight of his commitment draws a sharp challenge from the shadows. Rug Voltas stresses the urgency of clearing the vital northern trade route immediately. Turan offers a knowing smirk, sensing there is more to this sudden request. Determined footsteps echo against the cold, unyielding stone of the path ahead. A small party ventures beyond the gates into the dangerous, unknown wilderness. Turan prepares himself, his steady hands tightening the grip of his leather gloves. Azella questions why a guest must endure the perils of a monster hunt. She insists her frustration lies solely with her father's unnecessary, frantic overreaction. Marvin Voltas warns his sister to watch her tongue regarding their powerful father. Frustration boils over as Marvin clenches his fist, his patience clearly wearing thin. Marvin formally introduces himself to Turan, masking his irritation with a polite smile. A restless boot kicks a loose stone, disturbing the silence of the woods. They press onward, eager to resolve this grim task and finally find rest. Marvin probes Turan with a playful jab about his feelings toward Azella. A relieved smirk spreads across Marvin's face at the expected answer. The group freezes as a grim sight halts their steady progress forward. Broken wood and splintered remains mark where a heavy struggle occurred recently. 2 armored guards inspect the wreckage, confirming their worst fears about travel. Turan studies the scene carefully, his mind racing to connect the clues. Deep impressions left on the timber suggest a creature of immense strength. Tension fills the air as they identify the culprit behind the destruction. Azella stares in disbelief while Turan points toward the damning evidence left behind. Tracking the beast into the woods becomes their next immediate, dangerous priority. Doubts surface as the companions admit their own limitations with magical tracking. Turan steps forward to investigate the trail himself, determined to move ahead. Azella questions Turan, her gaze sharp as she probes his mysterious, hidden heritage. Turan closes his eyes, channeling his focus to pull traces of magic forward. A sudden flicker of recognition crosses his face as the trail finally appears. Ethereal light carves a path through the dense, shadowed forest canopy ahead. He directs the others toward the hidden destination with a steady, guiding hand. The group reaches a stream where the creature paused to cleanse its tracks. Azella stares at the water, struggling to process such calculated behavior from a beast. Turan offers a grim alternative, suggesting the creature acts with unsettling, human intent. His instincts flare, catching a subtle shift in the heavy, humid forest air. Turan screams a desperate warning, spinning around to face the encroaching, unseen threat. A monstrous, glowing-eyed creature lunges from the foliage, towering over the armored guards. Chaos erupts as the beast prepares to strike, shattering the forest's fragile peace. A bearded man in armor shouts a desperate warning to his scattered companions. The monstrous creature unleashes a devastating energy blast, tearing through the armored guards. A figure in a dark cloak leaps through the air with lethal agility. Turan watches the unfolding carnage with a cold, terrifying sense of focused clarity. Blood stains the face of an injured guard, marking the cost of survival. Azella stands firm, shielding the injured guards from the monster's relentless, savage assault. Graceful and swift, she dances through the chaos to deflect a lethal blow. Dark memories resurface, confirming that the warnings of his past were entirely justified. Azella screams a command, rallying the remaining forces to strike back against evil. The armored guards tighten their formation, desperately attempting to surround the elusive beast. Panic ripples through the woods as the creature retreats, fleeing the hunter's pursuit. Shadows stretch across the forest floor as the hunt deepens into the darkness. The group sprints through the thicket while a dark silhouette pursues them relentlessly. A jagged stone projectile hurtles directly toward Azella's unsuspecting eye in the chaos. Suddenly, a shimmering magical barrier materializes to deflect the lethal stone away instantly. Brilliant energy erupts, carving a blinding line of light through the dark forest. The monstrous creature shrieks in fury as its projectile is shattered by magic. Marvin and Azella pause in shock, gazing back at the source of power. Turan advances with steady steps, his hand wreathed in a glowing magical ring. The young mage stands ready to face the encroaching darkness alone. Azella and her companion desperately sprint away from an unseen, lethal predator. A sharp, calculated focus narrows as she spots the enemy's hidden weakness. Sudden blinding light erupts, forcing Azella to shield her eyes from impact. The party scatters as a brilliant beam of energy carves through the forest. A monstrous beast roars in agony, its red eyes burning with pure malice. They glance back, measuring the distance between themselves and the wounded nightmare. Turan steps forward, his hand tracing a glowing ring of complex arcane energy. Turan maintains a steady gaze, his expression unyielding as he surveys the intense battlefield. The creature collapses, the forest floor trembling under the weight of its fall. Azella lunges forward with a fierce shout, ready to deliver the final blow. Incendiary mana coils around her hand, igniting the air with intense, searing heat. A serpent of living flame descends, consuming the monster in a golden inferno. A blinding flash of golden fire consumes the forest, silencing the monster's cries. The man with black hair watches the inferno, recognizing the legendary power of House Voltas. 4 armored soldiers in cloaks exhale in collective relief as the immediate threat dissipates. Azella brushes off the lingering tension, her voice cutting through the smoky forest air. The man with black hair teases her, mocking the fear she displayed during the attack. A group of armored soldiers frantically attends to a wounded soldier among the trees. Turan observes the grim scene, calculating the cost of this unexpected and violent skirmish. Azella stands amidst the bloodied soldiers, lamenting the preventable injuries they have all sustained. Turan narrows his eyes, his mind racing as he processes the grim situation ahead. Azella argues with the man with black hair as Turan watches the tense exchange. The man with black hair pauses, sensing a shift in the atmosphere around him. Turan dismisses the concern with a calm smile, choosing to keep his thoughts hidden. Azella invites the group to claim the remaining essence of their fallen foe. Turan and his companions gather around the dark, lifeless remains of the beast. Glowing green energy crackles as Turan reaches out to draw the residual power. Concentrated focus washes over his features while the magical current surges through him. Exhaustion finally halts Azella and the man with black hair mid-absorption process. They watch in stunned silence as Turan continues to draw immense power effortlessly. His reserves seem limitless, defying the common constraints placed upon noble magic users. Golden twilight settles over the path leading toward the distant, imposing castle walls. The man with black hair praises Turan for securing their victory against the monster. Turan brushes off the compliment with a modest wave, downplaying his crucial tactical role. Azella questions the hidden capabilities of the beast they just managed to overcome. Turan explains how a monster's physical form dictates the unique powers it manifests. Turan continues his journey with the group while discussing the monster's peculiar evolved traits. Azella marvels at his keen insight, prompting him to credit his library studies. He wears a humble smile, brushing off her praise with characteristic quiet grace. Turan suggests that she seek guidance from the knowledgeable librarian for easier texts. Azella tilts her head, clearly intrigued by the mention of this mysterious figure. He pauses thoughtfully, questioning if such a person truly dwells within those halls. An ancient, vine-covered tower stands silent against the fading golden twilight. The librarian greets him warmly as he steps into the quiet, familiar space. Turan offers a faint, self-aware smile while reflecting on his recent scholarly efforts. A young girl holds a book, her bright expression contrasting with the surroundings. Turan stares at the girl, his brow furrowed by her unexpected, intimate greeting. The librarian looks up, her face mirroring a sudden, startled flash of recognition. A playful, knowing smirk dances across the mysterious spirit's lips. She lounges atop the table, mocking his late realization with ease. Turan stands firm, his analytical mind already dissecting her strange presence. Magic ripples through the air as she commands the library's contents. Ancient volumes dance from the shelves, answering her silent, beckoning call. Empty air shimmers where she once sat, shifting the atmosphere. A long-haired female spirit looms close, teasing him with coy affection. Turan locks eyes with her, unsettled by this sudden, intimate shift. He recoils instinctively, pushing back against her overwhelming, supernatural proximity. Looking up, he confronts the entity that defies all mortal definition. She reveals her true nature as the sentient heart of knowledge. Her gaze lingers on him, judging his desires with cryptic amusement. Turan dismisses her claims, finding her ethereal nature difficult to grasp. He pauses, contemplating the strange reality of a spirit made of knowledge. Curiosity overcomes caution as his hand reaches out to touch her. She recoils, unsettled by the physical intrusion into her intangible form. Visible irritation flashes across her face at his reckless, tactile behavior. Ancient shelves hold secrets that have remained dormant for countless years. Turan questions if anyone else has ever truly perceived her presence. The library spirit explains that only he possessed the unique qualifications required. She closes the distance, grabbing his arm with sudden, possessive intent. Turan probes for clarity, learning that wizards identify bloodline as a type. He seeks answers about his origin, only to be directed toward parents. She offers an intimate examination to uncover the truth of his lineage. Turan recoils in utter disbelief at the spirit's invasive proposal for physical contact. The library spirit looms closer, her playful laughter echoing through the silent, ancient halls. Panic flares as the entity's incorporeal hand passes directly through his chest without resistance. Turan demands she cease this unsettling connection, yet the spirit remains entirely unbothered. She breaks down the complex architecture of his lineage with cold, clinical precision. A sudden flicker of discovery ignites within the spirit's gaze as she probes deeper. Turan searches for meaning, desperate to comprehend the fragmented truth of his own identity. An enigmatic barrier remains, concealing the final piece of his mysterious ancestral puzzle. Quiet resignation washes over him as he finally begins to process the revelation. Turan stares intensely, his eyes narrowing as the hidden truth finally clicks into place. Turan's mom appears in a fleeting vision, her gentle presence shielding a hidden heritage. The weight of his origins settled, he prepares to depart the library's suffocating grasp. Turan probes the library spirit for secrets regarding the world's hidden, fundamental nature. A shimmering orb of water manifests, revealing the unseen mechanics of magical flow. Stunned by the revelation, Turan begins to grasp the profound simplicity of reality. Microscopic wonders emerge, illustrating the tiny forces that dictate life and eventual decay. Friction sparks a dance of energy, mirroring the deeper laws governing all existence. Turan places a single apple before him, preparing to test his newfound knowledge. His finger makes contact, channeling intent into the fragile skin of the fruit. The apple withers instantly, as the accelerated process of decay takes its toll. Turan marvels at the efficiency, realizing how little mana this precise manipulation requires. A shift in perspective fundamentally elevates his capability as a powerful magical practitioner. The librarian hints that elite houses hoard these truths to maintain their dominance. Dark realizations dawn on her as she contemplates the cost of such suppressed knowledge. The ancient library tower stands silent under a brilliant, cloud-swept sky. Turan prepares for his departure while his ethereal mentor watches on. Panic consumes the library spirit as he desperately begs to join him. Desperation turns to a clumsy display as the spirit collapses in protest. Curiosity flickers in the spirit's eyes, questioning the reality of his freedom. Turan remains unmoved by the dramatic pleas echoing through the grand hall. Wisdom flows from the mentor, urging him to seek relics of gods. Stepping toward the heavy threshold, he promises to return one day. Indifference masks the spirit's true sorrow as he turns away again. A faint, knowing smile graces Turan's face as he exits forever. The towering spire fades into the distant, sun-drenched horizon. Armed with newfound knowledge, Turan begins his long trek toward destiny. The path forward stretches across the map toward the distant Enrolled Desert. Turan turns his back on the past to pursue his true objective. A quiet resolve burns within him as he finally seeks his parents' truth. Turan walks through the courtyard, his eyes fixed on the path ahead. Leaving the city behind, he ventures deeper into the untamed wilderness alone. A calm resolve settles over him as he considers his long journey. Patience guides his steps through the forest as the sun begins setting. Past remnants of fallen beasts, he trusts that truth will eventually surface. Suddenly, a sharp sound catches his attention from the dense, dark brush. Nearby, a horse lets out a low, echoing breath in the woods. Turan peers through the leaves to witness a truly bizarre, unexpected sight. A powerful horse stands ready while a cloaked figure rests nearby him. The presence of a saddle suggests this creature serves a darker master. He watches as the dark elf keeps watch over his strange companion. His focused gaze narrows, weighing the danger of this silent, hidden encounter. Turan observes the pair of dark elves plotting in the forest clearing. Vile purple energy crackles from their hands as dark magic takes hold. Twisted masses of sludge writhe upon the ground like living, cursed shadows. A terrified horse recoils from the unnatural horror manifesting before its eyes. Turan watches from the brush, his heart pounding against his ribs. Shock widens his eyes as he witnesses the gruesome scene unfolding. The cruel reality of their savage nature is laid bare. Antagonist 1 and Antagonist 2 trade horrific taunts over their fallen meal. Disgust washes over Turan as he realizes the truth about them. He moves with lethal precision, slipping deeper into the dark woods. The predators remain oblivious to the silent hunter closing the distance. Turan strikes, unleashing a flash of steel against the unsuspecting antagonist. The dark elf reels from the sudden, unseen impact of the strike. Jagged, shadowy spikes tear through the forest floor in a violent eruption. Burning eyes scan the darkness, searching for a phantom among the trees. Antagonist and his companion brace for combat, circling their snarling beast closely. A stone projectile whistles through the thick air, trailing a faint glow. Impact shatters the silence as the projectile finds its mark mid-air. Antagonist screams into the void, demanding his hidden enemy reveal themselves now. Massive debris crashes down, pulverizing the ground where they once stood. Shock contorts the face of the dark elf as the truth dawns. Dark energy coils around the beast, preparing to unleash a devastating counter. Golden light explodes outward, consuming the forest in a blinding, lethal wave. Turan watches from the shadows, a cold, calculated smile touching his lips. The dark elf halts, sensing a predatory gaze lingering within the dense forest. Turan emerges from the shadows, his hands crackling with raw, lethal magical energy. A monstrous beast lunges forward, commanded by the dark elf to destroy him. Quickly, Turan weaves a complex spell, his fingers dancing through the humid air. Intense heat erupts into a swirling orb of fire, blinding in its brilliance. Turan unleashes a scorching torrent of flame, turning the forest into a furnace. The beast recoils in agony, unable to withstand the overwhelming power of fire. With effortless grace, Turan vaults over the creature, narrowly avoiding its snapping jaws. He lands firmly on the forest floor, his eyes locked onto the enemy. Turan focuses his vision, sharpening his senses for the next brutal, inevitable strike. Suddenly, the beast clamps its teeth onto his arm, drawing blood and fury. A swift, decisive kick sends the creature reeling away from his wounded limb. Turan narrows his eyes, sensing the lethal pressure mounting in the forest air. A large, green, horned beast towers over him, its glowing eyes burning with malice. The force of the creature's strike sends Turan flying backward through the dense trees. He crashes down, coughing up blood as the reality of his injury takes hold. Turan collapses to the earth, trapped between the beast and a small fox-like creature. Antagonist 1 looms nearby, his manic laughter echoing through the clearing like a curse. Suddenly, a horse-like creature lunges forward, striking the dark elf with powerful front hooves. The beast mercilessly tramples him, driving the villain deep into the unforgiving forest floor. Watching from the sidelines, the large, green, horned beast observes the chaotic scene unfolding. A small fox-like creature bites the horse-like creature, desperate to defend its fallen master. The dark elf crawls through the dirt, his face twisted in pure, unadulterated rage. A blinding flash of energy tears through the brush, signaling a violent turn. The piercing magical beam strikes the dark elf, drawing a spray of purple blood. Turan stands tall as his fallen adversary collapses lifelessly into the damp forest soil. Dark magical residue lingers where a horse-like creature watches the smoldering forest floor. Turan catches his breath, his face bloodied and weary from the intense magical battle. His legs finally give way, forcing the weary warrior to kneel in the dirt. Draining magical exertion leaves him barely able to maintain his focus or composure. A gentle nuzzle from the horse-like creature breaks his intense, focused concentration. Turan sits in the quiet woods, finding a moment of reprieve beside his companion. Gratitude softens his expression as he reaches out to stroke the animal's neck. Suddenly, the blond man stirs from his slumber, his eyes flickering open in confusion. A full moon illuminates the forest canopy during this brief, silent night watch. The blond man jerks awake, startled by the lingering echoes of the recent battle. Turan sits by the crackling campfire, watching the silent forest around him. He observes his guest, noting the man has finally regained his senses. The blond stranger speaks, questioning Turan while recounting his own heroic intervention. A horse-like creature nudges the stranger's shoulder, seeking comfort in the darkness. Turan watches as the man reaches out to soothe his loyal companion. Recognizing the animal's intelligence, Turan offers a quiet nod of genuine respect. The stranger identifies himself as Azai's of House Berg, formalizing their meeting. Turan presses for answers, curious about the catalyst for such a violent encounter. Azai's explains his simple pilgrimage was interrupted by the sudden, unprovoked dark elf assault. Tears well in his eyes as he reflects on the sheer brutality faced. The horse-like creature shifts nearby, its presence heavy with the lingering, traumatic tension. As eyes covers his face, struggling to contain the overwhelming sorrow of his ordeal. Turan questions the stranger about his fallen companions and their tragic past. Observing the man's genuine grief, he quietly labels him a good person. Turan confirms the elimination of the attackers, closing the dark chapter tonight. Sudden movement stirs within the shadows of the silent, ancient forest. Cold night winds howl through the dark, unforgiving woods. A sharp, watchful eye scans the perimeter for any remaining threats. The blond man shifts the conversation toward their shared journey and purpose. He expresses quiet disbelief at the immense power hidden within his companion. Turan humbly deflects the praise, downplaying his role in the recent skirmish. A vibrant, blue magical aura surges around Turan, revealing hidden strength. The blond man responds as golden energy erupts from his own core. Two powerful forces collide, illuminating the campsite with a brilliant glow. Turan gazes at his companion, stunned by the sheer magnitude of hidden mana. The blond man maintains a steady, calm expression despite the intense magical pressure. Turan wonders why such a mysterious noble would be traveling through the forest alone. A debt of life forces the stranger to offer a path toward home. Pride radiates from the blond man as he recounts his family's legendary craft. Turan listens intently, carefully weighing the potential benefits of this unexpected alliance.